Now. We're singing the blues this morning because the Boston Bruins were humbled big time last night by St. Louis. But perhaps it's all part of the plan to pass the President's Trophy curse on to the Florida Panthers.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things spoke to be. Today is Tuesday, March 12th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. What a stinker last night against the St. Louis Blues. And that's a team you don't want to lose to because of the fact we're still recovering from 2019. Let's be honest. The Bruins had been rolling coming into that one and will now regroup ahead of a game later this week against the Montreal Canadiens. Before we get into what took place last night, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey thoughts at Ian C. McLaren. Now, looking at the numbers from last night, you would have expected that the Bruins would have won. At 5-on-5, they had 63.5% of the shot attempts, 66.7% of the shots. They had 69.6% of scoring chances, 68% of the high danger chances, and expected goals were 3.28 versus 1.68 in favor of the Bruins. In all situations, similar numbers. In fact, the high danger chances were 72.4% in favor of the Bruins, a 21-8 advantage in terms of high danger chances. Very unfortunate, therefore, that they did not come out with even a single point in this one. And I mean, what can you say? The Blues just took advantage of their chances, whereas the Bruins did not. 37-22 were the shots in favor of the Boston Bruins. Full credit to Joel Hofer, who stood tall with a .973 save percentage. And I mean, it was cool to see Kevin Hayes score and point upwards in tribute to his late brother, Jimmy. Now, Drew Bannister, the Blues head coach, said from goaltending to their forwards, they didn't have any passengers. Everybody played well tonight for the Blues. Hofer had to make some big saves. He played outstanding. The penalty kill was outstanding for them. The power play was able to score. The Bruins got into penalty trouble early. A 5-on-3 they gave up in the first that Robert Thomas made them pay on. The Bruins went 0 for 3. The Blues went 1 for 3. And that was part of the difference in this one. Bruins head coach Jim Montgomery said he didn't like the team's start. They went down 2-0 early thanks to that Robert Thomas goal, which came on the 5-on-3. He didn't think they had intensity that's required in this league to start games on time. They did create a lot of good scoring chances, but they missed the net. They blocked shots. The Blues' desperation was defensively higher than Boston's. You know, Boston's well entrenched in a playoff spot, whereas the Blues are fighting to stay alive. They are a bit more desperate. And that was one of the differences. And that's something the Bruins are going to have to ramp up here down the stretch because they can't afford to not come out swinging right from the opening faceoff once these games start to matter even more. Pavel Zacha acknowledged it was a slow start. The Bruins weren't engaged. They started playing better as the game went on, but it's not good enough, and it was already too late. Again, I talked yesterday about how the Bruins had been rolling. Heading into that one, they had beaten Toronto twice, took Edmonton to overtime. They rolled over the Penguins, but the Blues came in much more desperate, looking for those 2 points to stay alive in the Western Conference playoff race. The Bruins were coming off, big celebration the other night for the 2011 team, a big win over the Penguins. Perhaps they underestimated the Blues, which you just can't do in the NHL because on any given night, any team can beat any other. It's just a fact. The Blues are now 6 points out of a playoff spot, although they have to catch Vegas and they have one more game played. The Bruins now still 1 point back of Florida in the Atlantic with one more game played. Actually, two more games played, so they're trailing in terms of point percentage. We'll talk about that coming up. Maybe that's part of the plan. Ooh, we don't want to win the President's Trophy. As it goes for last night, there, of course, was the overturned or a lengthy review on one of the goals that did not count in favor of the Bruins. If it takes you like an hour to figure it out, perhaps it's inconclusive, right? The Blues scored 5 goals as a visitor against the Bruins for the first time since 1991. Kasperi Kapanen had a career high 3 points. Pavel Zacha for the Bruins had a secondary assist on Pasternak's 41st goal. He extended his point streak to 5 games. That was pretty much the only positive in last night's game for the Boston Bruins. Pasternak with his 41st from Shattenkirk and Zacha. Personally, I was very much affected by Danton Heinen's -3. -3. Plus minus is such a useless stat. I hate it. Heinen went -3 last night, and I'm now trailing even more in my fantasy matchup as a result. He was a team low -3. He did have 3 shots, 1 hit, but we don't count hits in my league. We count plus minus. Nobody cares about this. The team leader in shots last night was Jake DeBrusk. He had 7 shots. Nothing to show for it, however, and the Bruins will regroup, travel to Montreal, and try to get back in the win column on Thursday. We're going to do our weekly cup check here coming up after the break to see where the Bruins rank among the top 5 teams in the NHL. We'll discuss that here as the podcast continues. I've already mentioned fantasy hockey a couple times on the podcast today, and if you are into daily fantasy, then you need to check out the Sleeper app. It's the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like David Pastrnak, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times your bet, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. So, check out the Sleeper app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you can get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply, but that's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We also have the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Also available on the Fire TV channels app on Amazon. All the latest from around the sports world from our local experts, national shows, check out Locked On Sports today. All right, it's Tuesday, and we are doing our weekly cup check where we look at the top 5 teams around the NHL and assess where the Bruins rank among them. And if we're looking at point percentage, the Bruins are barely hanging on to a top 5 spot. They are second overall in terms of points, tied with Vancouver for second overall, but they have 67 games played, which is the most among all teams around the NHL. So other teams have done more with a bit less. And if we're looking at point percentage, the number 1 team, well, let's start from the bottom. The Bruins currently in 5th, 679 point percentage, just so slightly behind the Winnipeg Jets, who have a 680 point percentage. The New York Rangers are in 3rd at 688. Canucks in 2nd at 689, and then the Panthers well ahead at 708. The Bruins are 2 points ahead of the Dallas Stars, slightly ahead in terms of point percentage, but with 1 more game played. If we're looking at goal differential, well, the Bruins are well outside the top 5 at the moment. Florida's up there, plus 64. Vancouver, 2nd at plus 56. The Avalanche and Stars, plus 44, plus 43. The Jets at plus 43 as well. Edmonton at plus 42. The Rangers at plus 40. And then the Bruins at plus 39. So they're kind of slipping here in terms of goal differential as well. They used to be top 3. If we look at the underlying numbers, which is important to do, you look at 5-on-5 play, because that's where the majority of the game is played. The Hurricanes are number 1 in terms of shot attempt differential, followed by the Panthers and Oilers. The Bruins are 24th in terms of shot differential. So that shows us that the opposition has the puck much more than the Bruins. If you're looking at shot differential, it's the Hurricanes, Kings, Panthers, Oilers are your top 4 teams. The Bruins are 22nd in that regard. Let's look at scoring chances at 5-on-5. You have the Oilers, Hurricanes, Panthers, starting to see a little pattern here. The Bruins are 17th in that regard, so not too bad. When it comes to high danger chances at 5-on-5, it's the Oilers, Hurricanes, Stars, Panthers. Top 4, the Bruins are 14th. Now, what's keeping the Bruins near the top, of course, is their save percentage. They're 3rd in the NHL. Save percentage, 5-on-5, behind the Jets and Panthers. The Panthers are creeping up there. They're also 3rd in terms of shooting percentage at 5-on-5, behind Vancouver and Detroit. So when it comes to PDO, they're 2nd, and that means they've been you look at their underlying numbers, shot attempts, shots, they're regularly being out-attempted and outshot by the opposition, but they're cashing in on their opportunities. They have a 3rd-ranked save percentage, and they also have a 3rd-ranked shooting percentage. So something could break here at some point. If you look at the teams that are solid, all like the Florida Panthers have everything lined up in their favor. They have strong underlying numbers. Their PDO is pretty average. Remember, the whole idea is that teams will level off around an even 100 between save percentage and shooting percentage. Anything higher than that is, you're kind of skirting with puck luck that could run out at some point. The Panthers are at 100.6, 92.6 save percentage, but their shooting percentage is below 8. So they could even improve, and especially with Vladimir Tarasenko in the mix, he had like a 3-point game in his debut. He should only help the Panthers. So are the Bruins legit Stanley Cup contenders? Well, they're probably fighting for that position with some better teams. Let's be honest. The Panthers the Canucks, the Rangers, the Jets. You have the Hurricanes who got better with Jake Gensel. The Dallas Stars are a force to be reckoned with. The Colorado Avalanche, of course. And there's talk that Gabriel Landeskog could return if they go deep into May. You have the Oilers, who are a formidable team. Even the Maple Leafs are still hanging around. We haven't even mentioned them yet. There's a lot of pretty good teams in the NHL this year, and a lot will have to go Boston's way in order for them to be actual Stanley Cup champions this year. And the way it's tracking, they're going to play Toronto in the first round. That is a winnable series. We saw that last week with 2 wins over the Maple Leafs. What they can do beyond that is kind of up in the air. So that's your weekly cup check. And coming up as the podcast continues, I'm going to quickly go over what I believe is the ideal playoff roster for the Boston Bruins. If you're looking to level up your ride in 2024, then you need to check out eBay Motors. eBay Motors has all the parts you need for your ride. 122 million parts to be exact, and you'll always find exactly what you're looking for with the eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. They have everything you need to maintain and level up your ride. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. All the parts you need at the prices you want, so it's easy for you to turn your car into an MVP and bring home a win. Keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. The eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. On eligible items, exclusions do apply. Check out ebaymotors.com to learn more. On Monday, we were briefly encouraged by the fact that Johnny Beecher was recalled by the Boston Bruins. It appears as though he's already been sent back. He was recalled because Charlie Coyle was a bit under the weather, and there was some belief that he might not be able to play last night. Now, here's the thing, going back to the cup check. Maybe the Bruins are just kind of not wanting to jump into first place overall. They're wanting to pass that curse back to the Florida Panthers. It's all part of the plan, my friends, to not be burdened with the President's Trophy. Now, let's be real. The fact that we're even talking about the President's Trophy for the Boston Bruins in a year that was supposed to be a transition season for them, in a year in which they lost Patrice Bergeron. Could you imagine Bergeron on this team? That's exactly what they need at the moment. And that's why I was kind of encouraged by Beecher being called up, not because he's on the same level as Bergeron by any stretch of the imagination, but because they need that face-off help. They've been struggling in the dots, and I don't think Jesper Boqvist is the answer. Even last night, 41.3% of face-offs were won by the Bruins, almost 59% in favor of the Blues. Beecher is a very good face-off man, and I posted yesterday on the app formerly known as Twitter what my ideal lineup would be for the playoffs. You have Heinen, who got the -3 last night, with Zacha and Pastrnak. I would have liked to have seen the Bruins pick out a top 6 winger last night, but that's who they're left with. Heinen, Zacha, Pastrnak, Marchand, Coyle, DeBrusk. That's been working. Van Riemsdyk, Geeky, Frederick. And then the fourth line, I wouldn't mind seeing Beecher down the middle with Boqvist on the wings. He's played very well for the Bruins. He had some opportunities last night even. And then the newly acquired Patrick Maroon on the right side with Jacob Lauko as the extra forward. Now, I don't mention Justin Brazeau. He can be sent down more easily than anybody else. On the blue line, Grzelcyk, McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, and then you piece together a bottom pairing between Lohrei, Andrew Peeke, Parker Witherspoon, Kevin Shattenkirk, and then, of course, Swayman and Ullmark in net. That is a cap-compliant roster. Not that it matters in the playoffs, Vegas, but I think that is the ideal roster for the Bruins come playoff time. Beecher down the middle. They need that face-off prowess that he can bring. Let me know what you think. Drop me a comment and agree, disagree with that assessment of who should be in the lineup for the Bruins. As it comes to last night, there's going to be games like that. I think Jim Montgomery even said that it's a long season. The Bruins were coming off a great weekend. We would have loved to see them build on that. But alas, that wasn't the case last night. And he wasn't too worked up about the loss. And neither should we. He said, you have nights like this where the puck doesn't go your way. You don't have puck luck. It happens. On most nights, the Bruins have done a lot about it. They have 91 points. They're a good hockey team. They weren't good last night. It's not to say he's excusing everything, but again, looking at the underlying numbers, the Bruins created a lot of good scoring chances. They missed the net on some opportunities. The Blues blocked some shots. Their desperation defensively was higher than the Bruins. The Bruins played well enough to win. Hofer played great in net. I think he's a goalie to look out for. There was the goal that was not counted. Could have been a different game. The Bruins have been successful partly because of puck luck this year with the goal. Well, it's not even puck luck when you look at the goaltending, because they do have that tandem in net that allows you to have a chance on any given night. On this night, things just went the Blues' way, and they'll look to shake that off and get back on track on Thursday against the Montreal Canadiens. It's a March break up here. I took the day off. We're going to jump around at a trampoline park this afternoon. Please do take care of yourselves, friends. Have a great day, and we will be back tomorrow with perhaps a post-deadline mailbag episode. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, please send those over on Twitter, Instagram, in the YouTube comments, and I'll be sure to answer those as best as I can, as well as bring you all the latest on the Boston Bruins, because that's what we do here on the Locked On Podcast Network, part of the Locked On, your team every single day. Have a great one, friends, and we'll talk to you again here tomorrow. Bink.